anyone have something else they want to go first?
Well, I think one of the biggest questions throughout this book so far is, do you think her gender impacts the look that she gets?
Easily.
Yeah.
Given that she's in Afghanistan and any native Afghan would not
Yeah.
have the opportunities that she was
Like
afforded.
even how she got to a point in Afghanistan where she felt uncomfortable to wear her everyday clothes in America. Like just showing her skin was enough to make her feel uncomfortable.
I thought her gender impacted a lot of the work that she did, especially in the foreign countries.
Yeah.
Like when she was in Libya at the very beginning, and she didn't want to admit that she was fearful because she wanted one of the men in the group to say that they were afraid first, to almost like verify her claims. And then even in Afghanistan, when she almost got comfortable with the fact of being submissive to Mohammed.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting because I would have imagined that she would have never gotten accustomed to it because we always think of it as such a different lifestyle from us, but
And she wasn't there for very long until she got accustomed to it.
it didn't take
And
that
also
long.
when she was in, it was Venezuela, right? She was in,
Yeah, when
when she was in Venezuela.
Was she in Venezuela or was it Argentina? It's
Yeah, I
South
forget.
America.
I think it was Argentina.
Oh yeah, Argentina.
Because Buenos Aires.
Yeah,
Buenos
that's
Aires,
right.
Argentina.
When she was in Argentina, it was also extremely difficult for her to even just get like a temporary job as more like a freelancer as opposed to an actual job, and she had to prove herself to them.
Sneaking in.
Yeah.
Getting a
Well, like-
picture
Snap
of-
picture of Madonna.
Madonna with it.
And then they were just like, oh yeah, sure, whatever.
But then again, like being a woman also like helped her get this really big job in like Afghanistan. Because Ed was like, "Well, you're a woman, they're a woman." And
Yeah.
like, in that case,
That is
it really
true.
helped her.
Yeah, but even still, then she couldn't even take
Yeah, she was
legally take
nervous to
pictures
take
of the civilians.
But like, what she
But-
was like, for a good cause, I'm gonna do it. Cause like,
Yeah.
it's for a good cause. That I think that later on she'll like be able to really do good.
Yeah.
One of the pictures that really stood out to me was the one on page 73. It's of the Afghan women who are shielding their faces at the women's hospital in Kabul, which is Afghanistan's capital. And it almost seems like the women are just ghosts in this picture. Like you can't see their faces. Their burqas are black. It seems almost
Yeah.
surreal. Like it's hard to even
Almost like
envision
a-
the humanity, but through her writing, you can clearly tell that these women do have the same emotions, the same
Yeah.
feelings, the same desires as we are. And she even said like they were wearing floral skirts underneath their burqas, which is something
Yeah, I
never imagined.
Yeah.
I did find that part interesting when she went to see the woman and she said like, oh, there's a person under the burqa. That's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it gives like reality. Like they're not just the black burqa.
The other thing is on page 75, I can't tell if it's a woman or if it's a child, but by the size of
Oh my
of
goodness.
it, yeah, it.
I didn't even realize that. I
No.
thought it was like just like some tarp thrown on the
Yeah.
ground. That seems awful
It's
for
so
me to say,
you,
but
like you don't look. They don't look like humans. They
Yeah.
just look
Yeah, I
like.
kind of like what
They
Matt.
blend.
I kind of like what you said about in the hospital picture them looking like ghosts. Like you said, as a representation of kind of how they are.
Right, and it's not.
Even though they're
It
kinda
doesn't
just
even.
there.
Yeah, and how they dress completely contradicts how they feel inside. They just they have to be bland, but on the inside they are just. But at the same time, as she states, I think she states how they almost feel comfortable with it, but at the same they've been living like it for so long. It's just it is what it is.
Yeah, there's one part where I think they're saying like the author thought it was odd that the burqa was like the least of their worries.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting too.
I like when she's like in the embassy and he's like, "You can take your
Yeah,
whatever she was
I
trying
thought
to
that was an
hijab."
interesting
And she's like-
decision.
And he's like, "You're not Muslim," and she like, she did feel uncomfortable, but I feel like she kind of did it as like a respect kind of thing. She's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm gonna keep it on."
Yeah.
I definitely
Like
agree.
not make anyone uncomfortable.
Right,
like-
exactly. Because I remember when she was in the car with, I think it was Muhammad, and her
sleeve and her
yeah,
hair.
her sleeve, they just started to like,
And like she could feel the uncomfort.
yeah,
So she
and
like,
it was just the wrist too. Like we joke about it here, like oh my god, my wrist or my
we
ankle
talk
is
about
showing.
shoulders. At
Yeah,
school,
we joke
like,
about it, but really in the other
It's a
parts,
big thing there.
it's different.
Like yeah.
Ethan, did you think her gender impacted the work that she's done, or did she put into perspective the gender roles of different societies?
I think that her gender does impact what she does, and just like in the prelude it said she got kidnapped because she was a woman. That was kind of brutal, but I think it also lent her that really interesting job that allows her to get unique experiences that a male may not be able to have.
Yeah, I also kind of think that if it was a man doing this instead, a man would be seen as, I think, kind of a threat going in, whereas they see a woman like, oh, it's just a woman. She's just going to
Yeah.
be here to report and not take pictures,
Right.
as we think.
And
But-
until Mohammed realized that like she takes pictures like but she respected him and
Yeah.
went in. She didn't feel she didn't want to take pictures of his family because
Yes, they're his
he
women,
knew.
as he called them.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really strange way to
Yeah.
phrase
Yeah.
it.
Mine's
Like,
been like
it,
sister
That-
wives.
that's how they.
Yeah.
That's how they kind of
I
view
mean,
it,
because he's like the
unfortunately.
man of the household, so they
They're all his.
respectively, yes, they are his women, but it's a different culture. So
absolutely.
anyway,
So I guess we've like definitely come to the consensus that her gender and her specific outlook that she's able to have in these Middle Eastern societies definitely gives her an edge in the photojournalism field, but also it does limit
Like a
some of
blessing and a
her
curse, I think.
experiences
it's
compared to
interesting.
the males who get more access.
I did a report on a woman photographer from she was really involved with World War II. And the similarities between how they have been treated are so similar, and it was like, I don't know, probably 70 years difference between the two, and I think it's just insane how it's been 70 years and they're still treated very similarly, and how she has to prove herself that she's good enough, she's as good as the other men. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what's interesting is I kind of feel that, so she's an American woman, so they don't see her as much of a threat. If she was an American
Yeah.
man, she would be seen as a threat. If she was an Afghan woman, she would absolutely not, no reporting whatsoever. If she was an Afghan man, she would be allowed whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, I think about it in the opposite way too. If it was an Afghan man coming here to photograph, we would feel threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Just as going there, they feel threatened for an American man photographing.
I'm not sure how threatened I would feel if an Afghan man was taking
Not necessarily
photographs
me,
of me.
not me,
Yeah, just
but
the
like in general,
general
like
American
people.
sentiment.
Yeah,
I feel like there would definitely be questioning,
Yeah.
not like feeling
they'd be like, "Oh, are you a spy?" Like things like that.
Oh,
like,
okay,
like
I
close
see.
eye, be like, what do you
Yeah,
I took it from the perspective that just an average like Afghan civilian was coming over to America, and I
No.
wouldn't personally
Yeah, yeah.
be so
like
astonished.
like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think any of us here would think anything
Yeah,
of it.
we-
Just,
hopefully.
not like that. I don't think so.
Skin color doesn't determine if you're a terrorist or not.
So I
Anyway.
guess we're coming to learn that like life in Afghanistan is definitely like not the same as life in America.
Not easily.
And I think part of the reason that Lindsay Addario was so able to adapt to this newer lifestyle is because of her like experiences beforehand. She does definitely have this like free spirit within her that seems to help her wherever she goes. So like I just wanted to ask the question like which of the following do you think had the greatest impact on her career, whether it was her unorthodox upbringing in Connecticut or her study abroad in Europe where she was able to tour all the museums, and or is it Latin America where she was able to photograph the plaza with the women for the first time, or even like in New York City ultimately with Bebeto and the Associated Press?
Well, I feel like having her, when she was born, she was brought up in, I'm assuming, an upper middle class family, since they
Sounded like
lived
it.
in Darien.
Westport.
Or Westport. As we know, is upper middle class. But at 6, 7 years old, her mother, they just had to leave. Like, they kind of had to abandon their lifestyle. So I feel like that kind of put, not necessarily a dent, but impacted how she feels about staying in one place. Because for so long they were just like, it wasn't exactly home for them wherever they were living. And then obviously going and traveling abroad introduces her to new cultures, and for her to be able to not be judgmental, or if she is judgmental, she's quiet about it, but she's respectful towards others. And then going to South America also has impacted that, and I think altogether it leads up to her ability to go to Afghanistan and be able to do what she does.
Yeah, I feel that Lindsay Addario would think that her upbringing has had a large, if not the biggest, impact on her work and lifestyle, given that she included such a big section on it.
Yeah.
I feel like the way she was raised, like with her family, like being like all the parties, the strangers like just coming in and staying.
Yeah.
Right.
Really like helped her, like you said, like not judge anyone. Like
And makes her very open to just
Yes.
different, new, interesting people.
Yeah.
yeah, like when she was, I forget where, but she was with the, like the transgender prostitutes. When she was
In
with
New
that
York
guy.
City, yeah.
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 I thought that
and-
was scene was so
And-
funny.
It's funny, but like, if you were her boyfriend, would you have really like been like, are those your friends? Like,
I
feel like that's
I
kinda
think
weird.
it could have, I don't, you know, it was also 20 something years ago,
Yeah,
so
sure.
it's changed a little
Very
bit
true.
today, but trying to be in that perspective, it could have been to him that they were either transgender or that they were prostitutes, but,
Yeah.
and then together it's like, I don't know if I want to deal with that.
I definitely think society today is more inclusive.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be like crazy saying this, but I feel like I would have been freaked
Yeah,
out
I think-
if these four people who ostensibly look strange. I'm
Like,
sure
on the
they're very nice
street.
people, but
Yeah.
I would have been wigged out.
It's-
like on the street coming up to you, being like,
Exactly.
And if I was
Like,
straight,
it-
I assume it was at night, so it would have been an odd, awkward situation.
Yeah,
with
like,
the
I-
boyfriend guy.
I probably
so
would
you
have-
can give him a little credit there.
I definitely would have felt extremely awkward, like not knowing. If she had brought them up before, like that'd be a little bit different. If he like acted that way,
The
but
surprise factor helps.
yes, and I don't
It
know
shouldn't
how
have
I
been
would
as
act
much of
either.
a deal breaker as it
But-
was.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I also feel like that situation like ties into like the title, not like being
Yeah, like,
it's
Yeah.
what I do.
It's who I am. Like, don't judge me.
Are they your
for
friends? What I do, I take pictures and like learn about them.
Ethan, how did you react to that scene?
Just thought it was kind of funny. I don't know. I think the guy, like I would have been probably pretty fine with it, but I think the guy was a little too shy.
Yeah. It was their first date, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was like, and that was where the
Especially-
kiss ended. It's like, oh, okay.
Also, I think if they had been dating for a little bit longer, he probably would have had a different response. But he didn't know.
Yeah.
He really didn't
He,
know who
he, had
she
just, he had
was.
just met her. This is all new stuff.
So I can't exactly blame him, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Interesting, but yeah.
so do you have any proposal talking about?
I wanted to talk about her family.
We can have both family.
I don't know. Yeah, I just thought I thought it would be interesting how she grew up. I thought her family was really interesting because it's not typical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think it impacted her life?
I definitely think that the way she is and her attitude is definitely impacted by her upbringing. That she was like in this weird, quirky family that didn't necessarily follow a typical pattern or routine.
Yeah. Especially like the fact that her dad was like, oh, by the way, I'm gay. It's like, okay.
Yeah, just like left with
Plot twist there.
Yeah.
Brad.
I was
I
not
think it was
expecting
it
that.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Bruce was his friend. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how Bruce
Starting
made
to wrap up your
her father leave the
conversations.
family, and she's remained with her mom for most of her childhood. But it was the money from her dad that actually started her whole photography career. Because she was able to buy the supplies for her cameras.
Brought it to
And
reality.
it seems like this funny contradiction, and it kind of ties into the title. It's what I do. As Alicia said before,
Yeah.
she was so focused on the photography that it almost seemed like her family relations didn't matter as much as maybe they would to someone else.
Yeah, and like one of the things I had was, do you think you could be away for so long as your job? I don't think I could. Like it's one thing going on vacation for a month in Europe. It's another thing.
Okay, can you guys stop your discussions? Now, in order to get the